What happened to me shouldn't happen to anyone, but I'm glad it did. The Vineyard Grill was a fortress of wealth, its patrons draped in silk and affluence, their laughter ringing hollow against the backdrop of a world they'd never know. I walked among them, feeling like an imposter, burdened by a past filled with choices I wished to forget. That night, as I savored a lobster tail, the reality of my life weighed heavily on me. Then, Malik appeared, a small boy with tattered clothes, eyes bright with an unsettling mixture of hope and despair, approached our exclusive bubble with unparalleled courage. "Sir, can I have your leftovers?" His plea sliced through the rich air like a knife. I hesitated, ready to dismiss him, caught off guard by the unexpected pang of sympathy that stirred deep within. The moment I made felt my world tilt. Watching Malik's face light up as he accepted the takeout container, I swiftly followed him into the gritty streets beyond the restaurant's facade. The shift from opulence to desolation struck hard, but it was his younger sister, Sophie, that truly rattled me. Her frail figure in an alley, the haunting reality of their lives, ignited a fire I didn't know existed within me. I was no longer just a passive observer. I felt the weight of responsibility take root. As I rushed to call for help, my heart raced, and in that panic I began to reflect on my own childhood, the fractured family I had escaped. I became entwined in their lives, and with that choice, I realized I had the power to rewrite my own story. This tiny act of kindness would unravel into a journey of redemption, one that would change everything. "Excuse me, sir?" Malik's voice broke through the chatter of the Vineyard Grill, a place steeped in luxury and wealth. The protagonist shifted in his seat, glancing at the boy, sunken cheeks and oversized shoes, clutching a cardboard hand with a plea that felt awkward amidst soft jazz. "Can I have your leftovers?" Malik's eyes sparkled with an earnestness that caught him off guard. A thick tension hung in the air, the other diners glancing around, smirking behind their flutes of champagne. "Seriously?" the protagonist scoffed, half in disbelief and half in irritation. "Find a job like the rest of us." He didn't want to feel the tug of guilt. He wanted to dismiss the boy, maintain the illusion of superiority. Malik's face fell, but he straightened. "I may be hungry, but I'm no beggar." The boy's dignity struck a raw nerve, fracturing the protagonist's carefully crafted armor. "I just want what you don't need." Ferrugo of jazz faded, replaced by the sting of shame. I can't." But the urge to help swelled, and before he could overthink it, he pushed his plate toward Malik. "Take it, just—" The boy's joy was like a slap to his entitlement. He was embarrassed, suddenly aware of all the eyes on him. Malik beamed, yet the gratitude twisted into an uncomfortable reminder of the chasm between them, the stench of privilege clinging to the protagonist like smoke. "Thank you, sir. You saved me." "Neurological, he muttered, ashamed of his own hollowness. How was it that a child could possess more pride than him? The boy turned to leave, and something shifted in the protagonist. A flicker of unease, a dawning realization that perhaps he had misjudged them both. The clattering of silverware and the murmur of laughter surrounded him, yet Alex felt an overwhelming isolation at the Vineyard Grill. He glanced around the ornate dining room where laughter mingled with the clink of wine glasses, a world away from his own quiet struggles. The weight of his past loomed heavily, a reminder of the choices that had led him here, bound in privilege yet shackled by guilt. Then Malik appeared, a small figure with earnest brown eyes peering so earnestly at him, a contrast against the sea of indifference. The boy's request for leftovers struck a nerve, a silent scream echoing within him. With shock and hesitation, Alex instinctively recoiled at first. Yet Malik's resilience, despite his ragged clothes and hunger, ignited a fervor he had tried to bury. Moments later, as he discreetly followed Malik through the affluent enclave and onto the cracked pavement of a struggling neighborhood, the starkness of reality enveloped him. The weight in his chest grew unbearably heavy. The sight of Malik's younger sister, Sophie, shivering under a threadbare blanket, was a visual gut punch. It was not just suffering he witnessed, it was a world and life he had once known intimately. In the sterile brightness of the hospital's emergency room, as beeping machines accompanied the solemn gravity of their shared plight, Alex's resolve solidified. The sterile scent mixed with the hospital panic and illuminated his inner turmoil. He thought back to Mary Taylor, the woman who had once given him hope, a guiding light amidst chaos. He clenched his fists, the anger simmering, a quiet fire igniting with each moment of introspection. "I can't keep watching this happen," he murmured, determination replacing the lingering grip of despair. With each heartbeat, a subtle transformation coursed through him. The choices he'd make from this point on would redefine everything, shifting the focus from mere survival to forging a future for those who needed him most. The restaurant's clamor faded as the protagonist spotted Malik lingering outside the door, his small body silhouetted against the bright lights. "Hey," he called softly, the surprise in his voice giving way to something firmer. Malik turned, eyes wide, hopeful. "You dropped this," he said, extending a half-eaten plate of gourmet food. "It's just leftovers," the protagonist replied, hesitating. But something in Malik's gaze, a mix of hunger and dignity, churned the man's heart, awakening memories of his own past. "I could use it," Malik said quietly, yet there was strength in his words. "My sister's sick." A shift began deep within the protagonist. "Wait," he said, a new resolve settling in his chest. He followed Malik into the night, the lavish restaurant fading behind him. They navigated through alleyways, each step echoing louder with his decision. When they reached the rundown building, he saw Sophie's frail form, worry lines etched deep into her skin. "Call 911, he instructed Malik with more authority than he felt. "I'll stay with her." In that moment, he wasn't just a bystander, he was a protector. Hours later, as they waited in the sterile hospital air, the protagonist shared a story about his own childhood, resonating with Malik's plight. "You know, there's always a way out," he murmured, newfound confidence shaping his tone. When the courtroom loomed weeks later, he stood tall, recounting his journey. "I want to be there for them, like someone was for me once," he stated, straightforward yet firm, meeting the judge's gaze with unwavering determination. "Life isn't just about what you take," Malik added, his voice echoing the strength of their bond. "It's what you give." The judge nodded, granting him guardianship, a small victory signaling the start of a brighter path ahead. The courtroom hummed with murmurs, the air thick with anticipation. The judge, an imposing figure behind the wooden bench, glanced skeptically at Terrence, Malik's father, whose bloodshot eyes flickered with uncertainty. The protagonist stood at the front, heart racing, framed by the weight of his convictions. Today felt like the culmination of a long, internal battle, one that had transformed him since that night at the Vineyard Grill. "Malik," the judge beckoned. The young boy, radiating a hesitant bravery, rose to his feet. He cast a quick glance at the protagonist, a silent exchange of strength that spoke louder than words. "What do you think of Mr. Sinclair?" the judge continued. Malik's voice trembled but steadied. "He's not just a stranger, I can trust him. He cares about us." The courtroom fell silent, the breath of audience members caught in a moment of shared understanding. The protagonist's chest swelled, a mix of pride and relief washed over him. In contrast, Terrence shifted uncomfortably, the weight of his addiction and failures palpable. As Malik spoke, his gaze darkened, resentment thrumming through the air like a live wire. Each of Malik's words chipped away at Terrence's bravado, the cracks in his facade widening. The audience could feel it, the unraveling of a man who had let his family slip through his fingers. The judge's gavel echoed when he finally made his decision. Guardianship granted. The satisfaction radiating from the protagonist was palpable, a silent triumph. Glancing at Malik, he saw the spark of hope rekindle in the boy's eyes, the promise of a future unfolding. Malik broke into an unguarded smile, and the warmth enveloped the room like a soft embrace. While the courtroom erupted into whispers of astonishment, the protagonist locked eyes with Terrence, whose familiar arrogance had crumbled into shame. As the old life slipped away, the protagonist stood tall, silently clapping for the justice that felt more like redemption for all of them. As I sit here, reflecting on the night that changed everything, I can still feel the weight of the decisions I made. I remember the first time I saw Malik, a boy so full of dignity despite his circumstances, asking for simply what others might call trash. It stirred something deep within, a recognition of my own past, the moments I brushed aside someone else's struggle. Tie through his eyes, I glimpsed a shared humanity, a connection that transcended our divergent paths. When I chose to follow him that fateful night, I learned the stories that linger outside the glow of wealth, the hard truths of courage and family. Witnessing Malik and Sophie's resilience ignited a spark of responsibility I never anticipated, forcing me to confront my own shadows and the legacy of my family. Now, I wonder, do you think I went too far? What would you have done in my shoes when confronted with their reality? Have you ever had someone treat you with such tender humanity during your lowest moments? I invite you to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments. Let's discuss compassion, community, and what it truly means to stand up for each other.